Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. It is July. Hope you had a good holiday weekend and everybody saw some cool fireworks and kept all their digits. I got to sit in my backyard and I watched everybody in my neighborhood launch their fireworks. So I got a free show, which was pretty cool. My name's Dwayne. I'm a cloud solution architect for Microsoft. Work pretty much only in EDU and pretty much only on Copilot these days. This is my partner in crime, Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hello, thanks for joining us. Joe Gasper with at the University of Florida, so one of our land grant universities, of course, here, and looking forward to chatting today. Thanks for joining us all.
Joe and I have spent a lot of time in a car together, a lot of time on Teams meetings together, and we love talking about land grant and extension. We last month talked about the revised website. I'll throw that in the chat in case anybody is curious. Cloudycounty.com. This is where we're going to send everybody for anybody who wants to sign up, anybody who wants to find a recording, any of that kind of stuff. That's kind of like the new all-in-one page. There's a join button on there. So if you have colleagues that are curious about what we do or you feel like might be interested in it, you can just send them there and that should have everything that they need. Joe did a lot of hard work coming up with cloudycounty.com 2.0. So it's been revised a little bit. Looks more like a blog, which is kind of neat because if we're being honest, neither one of us blog. We just take the recording and turn it into a blog. But hopefully y'all will find some valuable stuff there.
Yeah, I
Our
think
feature,
going
sorry, go
forward on
ahead.
that, going forward on that, I think hopefully will be also like a lot of links we share and things like that is trying to get that into that blog basically that shows up for each of these. So going forward, I think we'll have better place for you to go back and maybe find some of this information we share too.
Yeah, we're still learning web development, web design. Not really our forte, but
We do know how to Copilot.
we do know how to ask AI to help us make stuff look pretty. So our feature highlight for this month is a very exciting one. You should definitely stick around for this. It is something called Copilot Notebooks, and it is a AI powered, kind of like AI powered OneNote in a way, where you can say, "Hey, I want to put a whole bunch of stuff together into a nice, tidy little container." And Copilot can tell me all about it and what's going on, and I can keep my notes and I can track stuff, and it's just really, really cool. But we always start with like a what's new segment. So there's always about 400 things that change on a month-to-month basis in the Microsoft Cloud. Joe curates his favorites, and we talk about some stuff that's coming so you don't get surprised. So we're gonna go ahead and pivot over to what's new, and then we'll come back to Copilot Notebooks.
All right, great. Thanks. Going to get started off. We've mentioned this, I think, last month a bit, and hopefully that's finished rolling out to everyone as the private channel updates. What are those private channel updates? Again, real quick, just we're not limited to 30. We can have more members in our private channels in Microsoft Teams. And one of the big ones there was supported now is the ability to schedule a meeting in a private channel. Something that we got with shared channels when those were rolled out. And some of these aspects of private channels are now catching up to shared channels. But the last one that has been on the horizon for a while now is finally getting some updates that we're expecting to see that this month now, and that's bringing Planner in to those private channels. So if you've got a private channel, perhaps for a set of maybe administrative uh, staff, HR staff, something like that, you're now going to be able to bring in and create plans for those people working together in one of those shared and private channels. Nice feature to get in there as an app that we can add. As you're used
Those are the
to, just
top
adding
two
them. Yeah,
things. Every single time Joe and I ever talked to anybody about private channels, it came up. I can't schedule meetings in here, and I don't see Planner when I try to add an app. And so those two are the biggest things, and they're going to be fixed.
yeah. I'm in a private channel here real quick. I go up to this channel and post. I can add an app, and you're going to find Planner up there already there. It's going to go through the motions. I keep trying this like every day to see when it's going to show up. It's not there just yet. Currently unavailable. So eventually, that little almost there is going to finish out, and we'll have a plan in our private channels. Yep. If you're someone who has maybe switched over and have started using Teams webinars, Teams town halls, taking advantage of that license that I'm sure the majority of you have on the call with up to 3,000 interactive users on your, you want to present to that many folks in your state, you can do that just with your normal Teams license that you've got. If you have a premium license, which gets you a few more items around, one is an intelligent recap, basically a nice AI rendition of your transcript. A few other goodies are still in there. One of them is a little bit more branding capability for your webinars and town halls while the meeting's running. So you've been able to brand your town halls, brand your meetings when you generate them and create them, like the sign up page you could brand. Now what we're able to do is brand actually inside the meeting while it's going on and running. So I'm going to just start. I've got a town hall demo here, and I have turned on one of the options that you'll have, which is manage what attendees see. So that's one of the meeting options that you need to turn on, manage what attendees see. And when you have that, you're going to have the ability now to customize your screen that shows up. One nice one is panelist. So if you've got 3 or 4 people on a call at a time, they're going to get lined up nicely on your screen. And I can bring in an uploaded image that would be used as the background. Let's see if I can bring in a camera or not at the same time. If this, I had a couple cameras running, and you got a couple people on here, they would be kind of stacked side by side with a branded background in there now. So you've got some options on your layout and what you see in the background, take advantage of.
And this interface may look a little confusing because there's a lot of buttons and a lot of things that you can push, but it's actually really, really powerful. You get to decide, like as the name of the feature implies, it's not a creative name whatsoever. It's very literal. Manage what attendees can see. So you get to decide what the audience sees, and you get to preview what they're about to see on the left and queue it up kind of the way you want. And then when you push that button that says send live, it'll shoot it over to the right. That's what the audience is seeing right now. You can turn off feeds, you can turn off shares that are coming from people, like you can queue them up. It's really a powerful like production type experience, reminiscent of like a much older technology called a Microsoft Teams live event, which was really not a lot of fun to run. They were kind of hard. This is a much more user friendly, like you see the little toggle down there above Joe's profile picture. If you want somebody to be on camera, you just flip that little toggle. And so if you want, Joe to interview Dwayne, like you could queue that up and then push it over. And then, at the end of the session, we got somebody closing us out. You can queue them up. And when you're ready, push that over. It's a really, really powerful option.
Those options you should have available. It's the Teams Premium that's going to get you some of these advanced capabilities here with respect to the branding. So, and that demo. Another thing that if you've started to use these tools, webinars and town halls, you can do is save them as a template now. So the effort that you might go into editing the theming around a meeting, where you can bring in a background for the page that you generate for people to join, sign up, these logos, colors, the effort you put into that, along with the description, attendees. That information is going to be able to be saved as a template. So if you're doing this perhaps monthly, all these meeting options that you might want to select specifically, like in here, for example, is where we have manage what attendees see, we were talking about, have those options. So you can have all that set as a template and save that and just repeat that each month if you want to. And this is another new feature for Teams. And this will really help with collaboration between a lot of our institutions. Sure, some of you are a guest in Teams in another tenant. What Microsoft has done is the invitations that are sent when you go into Microsoft Teams and you add a guest to your team, you put their the other institution person's email address in there, add them as a guest. They get a nice invite email that was coming from Microsoft. And sometimes really no indication other than like a team name that might be helpful to maybe put maybe the owner of the team adding you and the team together. So that now, here's an example. So this is someone I added to a team. This is what the invite looks like. And this came from me who added the guest to my team. And that's going to be helpful to going forward, how to understand, maybe not end up in your spam and things like that, onboarding people. A few things to cover in Teams. What's new that I want to call out? And we're going to look at, filtering. So we've got some enhanced filtering getting better with respect to searching and finding data and finding information. So you've got a really, chatty channel or some type of thread that's going on all the time. Discovering and finding files is going to be easier now. Being able to pick maybe who you remember posted the information or the date and things like that, going to be a little bit easier. So if we go to, let me pick a team. I'm in a channel here. I'm going to Control F for searching in this channel. And I'm going to search. I know that let's say someone shared a file about prompting. I'm going to put in prompt. I'm not finding that right now, but I know it was a file. Excel, I don't remember, Word file, PDF files. I'm getting the ability to kind of discover and see those files much easier now. And again, now we've got date range we can start searching for. I know it was last month that it occurred. Pick people who maybe sent it, and down to the file types. It's a lot easier to help jog your memory. If you got little pieces of what that might have been, a little easier to find, especially if you got a really long bunch of threads and a bunch of active channels going on. Find that data. And we're getting some updates to one of our favorite things that we like to talk about here. Let me find, here it is, bot protection. So this is sometimes a bane of our existence, running some of these meetings and Teams and managing external bots. So basically those are typically a AI bot that comes in to listen to your transcript, generate a transcript, and potentially down the road, send everybody an email about that, etc., things like that. Microsoft is continuing to find ways to address these issues. It's really a security issue around maintaining your institution's information in a location that you wish for it to be, including transcripts of meetings. There's a little more detailed information about this bot protection, how it's going to work, how to ensure that it's turned on administratively, which is thankfully by default. and just ways to work with that. I'll drop these links into the chat here in a little bit. So, yep, that'll be a nice feature to see here. And Microsoft's working with the ISVs who make these bots, so they don't, there are valid reasons to have them. We just need to be able to better identify and classify and determine and control them per meeting. And we'll be able to take advantage of that. That way we don't have too many of these sitting in our lobby to deal with. PowerPoint Live is definitely one of our favorite features with respect to Microsoft Teams, and pretty much the number one way to present a PowerPoint deck in a meeting. We keep seeing a few features that have lagged for a little while that we've had with running a PowerPoint in a standard desktop sharing session. One of them has now become available is be able to make changes while you're sharing in PowerPoint Live to the deck. So make a change to a slide and be able to reload this slide without having to stop your share, maybe reopen the file, reshare it, and go through that process. So I can give a little demo of this. Just going to go get a meeting running right now. Yeah, I've got a slide deck up and running. Present that into this meeting. If you've not seen PowerPoint Live before, what you're looking at is the presenter view. Clearly, I'm the one running the meeting, so I get a chance to see all my slides coming up. I can mark up the screen if I want to. I got a fancy laser pointer to point things out. Very cool things that we can do here. I could see my notes if I had any all at the same time. This is really great if you've got like a single laptop and you're presenting. You're able to see all your notes very easy while you're presenting. But now we've got this new option that's come out. Let's say I'm presenting with someone else and we realize we made a mistake. We need to update a slide while it's going on. So I can come in, and if we look at this slide, there's 4 pillars. I'm missing 2 of them up here. That's in the title. So I can come in into the slide, and I'm going to add these, what should be up here. Get something close up there. I've got my little updated slide. Just going to make sure that's save and update. Now what's nice is it's not immediately going to update my slides while I'm presenting. As Dwayne and I have talked about this before, joking, it would be kind of something that we would do to each other is on the fly, change these slides to some type of meme behind the scenes or something like that to someone. So the person running the meeting has full control of when to decide to reload this meeting. So, probably some back chatter with your co-presenter perhaps that, hey, the slides have been updated. So now what I can do is I have an option down here, present the latest version, little recycle circle there. I can click that. It's just going to prepare those slides, pull them back in, and there we are. I've got the updated slide now showing. It's a lot quicker than stopping my share, starting my share. You do this, some people might, I don't know, maybe you just think their connection dropped for a second, but you've got those new slides up there and ready to go.
This has been a big, a big request. PowerPoint Desktop does this. Like if you're in presenter mode on like a second monitor and you edit your PowerPoint, those changes happen like while the presentation's still running. PowerPoint Live, however, is really geared towards online meetings. It only works in Teams. Much better way. Like I said this before, like I would challenge anybody to like a Thunderdome throwdown of what's the best way to present a PowerPoint in an online meeting. And PowerPoint Live is going to crush everything. It's purpose built for a PowerPoint presentation in an online meeting. I was Joe. I don't know if you were seeing the chat. I used your fancy search function on our new website, and I can see that we've never had a session on PowerPoint Live.
We
I
are
can't believe that.
overdue. Yeah,
I cannot
overdue.
believe that. We are such fanboys for PowerPoint Live. I don't know how we would have skipped that. So if there's enough desire from you all, we would love to show you why we feel like it's the best and actually dive into all the bits and pieces of it. But this refresh option has been greatly anticipated. Lots of people have wanted to be able to do that without having to interrupt the meeting basically and close everything down. So this is a nice one.
Great. Let's see, we got to cover. So if you are someone who collaborates a lot in Microsoft Word, working together side by side with someone remotely in the same file at the same time, we're seeing some enhanced co-authoring capability. And we're calling it lock-free here. Not sure why this announcement's gone away a little bit because the feature's there. So there's definitely a very cool feature. It's getting to feel, surprisingly how like Loop feels when we're editing in Microsoft Loop. It's really fast. You can see where people are typing, where they're interacting in your documents. So take a look. I've got a document open here. I am acting as Jean-Luc Picard. And I've got the same file open up in another session with another user account. And kind of right smack in the middle of the screen, you can see my cursor moving around. If I hover over that, you'll see that's me over there. And I can just click around, you know where I'm working, and I can start making changes. And as a person, the Jean-Luc Picard account, I can see those changes live, and I'm still in the same paragraph. I could be in this sentence and make changes while my other account, the other person, is in the same sentence. So previously, we were locked down to like at the paragraph level, and we couldn't work that tightly together. Maybe that's too tight for you, but that's some new improvements in that lock-free co-authoring capabilities.
So Joe, apparently that was announced back in May, and
Okay.
the message center post just expired,
it's gone,
rolled off.
Okay, gotcha.
Great feature though. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I haven't really run into anybody that was upset about not being able to edit the same paragraph as another person. It may have come up like once or twice in our adventures together. I don't know if you've heard different, but it is nice to be able to get a little bit closer to collaborating on the same exact thing with a colleague.
I think going on is there's some enhancements just with general synchronization is improvements there, and this is just happens to be one of those nice things that happens to come along there. So I think perhaps with the ability to have 1 million files in our OneDrive now, definitely been some sync improvements. Something that we can take advantage of that. I don't know how, but if you are, let us know. We're curious what you're working on. And let's see, we have got, that's a new in Copilot that I want to call out. And let's search for citations. There we go. There is, for our benefit, when we are using Copilot and doing research, maybe you're looking through and added some documents related to some of the, let me say, extension documents you all are producing, have to work with being able to bring those into a Copilot chat, or maybe you've created a Copilot agent that looks at one of your websites with all your extension related documentation. Copilot is going to start giving us deep citations. It said that it's been rolled out, but deep citations means we're going to be getting back not just the source of the file that was used, or even a Word document, PowerPoint, a website. We're going to be getting dropped right into the specific part of that file or that document where Copilot brought you a reference. So we talk about using AI responsibly, and one of those is checking its work. This will make it easier for you to trace back an answer and discover and make sure that source is correct and accurate, and AI has got you what you were looking for. And I think that is going to bring us into our deep dive. I think I've got audio sharing going on capability. Want to
Yeah,
see if we
because
can run through this?
you
Yeah,
do, because every time you hang up your demo call, I think my meeting disconnected because I hear the hang up sound. So proceed.
We've got just a short video here. It's under 2 minutes. Give you an idea of what this deep dive is going to be taking us into. So here we go.
Here's how you can collect everything related to a project in one place and get focused answers with notebooks in Microsoft 365 Copilot. Navigate to Notebooks and select the plus icon to create a new notebook. Give it a clear name that reflects what you're working on. Next, add reference files to ground your notebook. These are the documents and content Copilot will use to reason and respond. Then select Create. Copilot creates a notebook with 3 main areas: references on the left, an overview in the center, and chat on the right. The overview summarizes what's inside and highlights key insights. As you add more references, this view updates to help you decide where to focus next. Use the left pane to browse your references. You can add more, open content, or remove references at any time. Select Quick Create to generate new content based on your notebook, like an audio overview or a study guide. Everything you create stays grounded in your references. In the chat pane, ask Copilot questions about your content. Choose a suggested prompt or write your own. Copilot responds using only the information in your notebook. Use the drop-down menu at the top of the pane to view your chat history. When you're ready to collaborate, select Invite and Manage Members to share the notebook. Everyone you invite gets access to the notebook and references, while your chats and audio overviews remain private to you.
All right. Hopefully that will give us level set a little bit with respect to what we're going to be able to dive into and start taking a look at.
Yeah, that was a speedy overview. We'll slow it down a little bit and go through some stuff manually so you can click around with me and follow along. I would encourage everybody, if you're live on the call here or even watching a recording, open up your browser and go to office.com, or if you have the desktop app for M365 Copilot on your system, I would launch that as well. That's my preference. And we're going to dive into notebooks. So I'm going to take over the share from you, Joe. Let me share my screen here. Before I even say anything else, we had the what's new pulled up real quick. Why this is important is because everybody's getting this for free. So what we're about to show you does not require any add-on license. Nobody has to buy anything to do what we're about to show you today. That's really the big news. That's the what's new that everybody should be excited about. Notebooks have been available in the premium version of Copilot for a while, but now they're being introduced into all versions of Copilot. So everybody, faculty, staff, students, everybody's going to have the ability to do this. So here's the Copilot app. Mine may look a little bit different from yours, and you also saw in the video the user interface was slightly different. That's to be expected. Anytime we take a screenshot of something, 2 or 3 weeks later, something moves. But the idea, I like to say the spirit of it is still the same. So if you're willing to click buttons and explore a little bit, you'll be able to find everything just fine. So we have reintroduced the waffle. I think we've talked about this in the past, but the waffle was the app launcher for Microsoft 365 apps. It went away when the app was rebranded and redesigned as Copilot. Pitchforks and torches came out, and common sense prevailed, and the waffle has been put back, and everybody rejoice. So you have the waffle. Notebooks is actually going to be underneath that waffle, which is why I'm spending so much time talking about the waffle. But there's other good stuff in here. Like if you want to explore bookings or loop or make a form or start a planner plan, like you can get to all those things from the waffle here. But Notebooks is new. So I want to give everybody a second, and maybe somebody just give me confirmation in the chat. Like, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are we seeing the same thing? Let me know if you see Notebooks underneath the waffle. Not showing. Okay, so Joe dropped a link in the chat that's the direct link to open up Notebooks. Try that as well. See if that kind of jumpstarts the process. No, I don't think it's a user error. Trust me, I was having issues 5 minutes ago. So we were kind of prepared for this, which is why Joe had that link. So try the link that Joe threw in the chat if you don't see it underneath your waffle. Also, another way that you could see it is if you go into OneNote. So, and I had a meme for this. Hang on, let me find it. Darn it, I lost it. Joe, well, we'll post it later. But basically, like, we put notebooks inside your notebooks. So it's like an inception thing happening here. But if you launch OneNote on the web, you'll see a section called Copilot Notebooks. It is not yet showing up in OneNote on my desktop. So the client of OneNote, I'm not seeing it there yet, but I am seeing it in OneNote on the web. And if you have the waffle, you can launch OneNote straight from the waffle, and you hopefully will see what I'm seeing here. But let's take a look at what we got. What have I got? Well, I got 3 notebooks that I've made. And why should I even care about notebooks? Well, notebooks are a way that you can organize knowledge. You can make a Copilot that will only answer questions based off the stuff that you've put in your notebook. When you talk to the regular Copilot, so like if I open it up like this, if I talk to the Copilot here, it's going to go out and use anything that's available on the web, like anything in the world that we can get to through the Bing search engine, this Copilot could use. If I opened up Copilot in Outlook and we launched this one, this Copilot can answer questions based off anything that I have access to in my entire OneDrive, teams that I'm a member of, SharePoint sites that I go to, stuff in my mailbox, and things on my calendar. Like basically it's a lot. It's a lot of noise. So what notebooks let you do is notebooks let you zero in on stuff that's all a part of the same topic, a part of the same project, a part of the same assignment, stuff like that. Like you can bring it all together into this nice, tidy little package, aka a notebook. And you can see that I've added several files that this user has access to. These files are actually all a part of a team inside of Microsoft Teams. So let me fire up Teams, and I will show that to you. So I've got a channel just general. And I've got a I've got a folder called course assets. And this is where all these files are coming from. They're all in a team. So I can reference them. I'm not moving them. I'm just saying, hey, Copilot, go look at those, however many files there are here, 12. So go look at those 12 files and leave them where they are. And when I ask you questions, you're only allowed to use those 12 files. So I don't know, if you ever see a demo from Dwayne or Joe, you're going to get a guarantee of at least one of two things, probably both. Number one will be bacon. Number two will be Star Trek. That's just how it is. So this is a Star Trek demo. If anybody here is a fan of Voyager, some of this may look familiar to you. So I'm going to say, who created the EMH, which is the Emergency Medical Holographic Program, which was the holographic doctor on the Starship Voyager. Nerds. We own it though, right? We accept it. So it's going to answer this question and it's going to cite its sources of where the answers came from, and it won't be able to use any sources outside of what I have specified. Now there's one really interesting source in here. So if I zoom in, I actually have an entire OneNote notebook referenced as a source. That's a pretty big deal. Like that's a massive deal actually, because we have a lot of folks that they run their entire department out of a OneNote. Like everything that we do is documented in OneNote. All of our processes and procedures, what links do you go to do certain things? Like Joe and I were on a sysadmin team together, and everything that we did, if I was updating a server or whatever, and there was a process, I'm writing it down and putting it in the OneNote. That way everybody on my team knew how to do it. We can now use AI to answer questions based off of all of that really valuable team-based knowledge that we had created together. I don't know why it's taken a hot minute. It usually does this whenever I'm, under pressure live in front of people. So just pretend it worked. We'll try it again here in a minute. So how do I get these references in here? Well, I've got references. So actually, let me just create a brand new notebook. We're going to go to all notebooks and we're going to just click new notebook. And we're going to call it Cloudy County Demo. And you can see it's starting to suggest things to me, like automatically based on files that I've recently played with or looked at. I can drag files into here. I can click on, my OneDrive browser and I can try to find files that way. Also, I want to give it like a little icon as well, like that one. I'll click create. So once this interface fires up, I'm left with this blank nothingness, right? So now I want to start bringing in content that's similar, like on the same topic. I like to use projects as an example. So I'm going to click add, and I can start adding references. I might see some stuff in here that's, really quick that I want to grab. But in my case, I'm going to open up my OneDrive browser, and I'm going to start browsing my files in OneDrive. You'll also see down here on the bottom left, you'll probably see teams that you use very frequently. And you can click where it says more places, and you can see more teams that you're a member of. So I've got this particular team right here. That's the general channel that we were just looking at a second ago. That's the course assets folder. I can't click the folder in its entirety. I have to click into the folder and then click all the files that are inside of it. So you can't point it at a directory. You have to point it at items in the directory. So I'll click select, and then we'll click add. Those are going to start flowing in, and then all of a sudden the middle starts to change. Right now, I've got some activity going on here. So the middle is going to be what's called your overview. It is going to be dynamic. Every time you launch your notebook or you refresh the overview, it's going to base its entire overview on the changes that have been made to these files, which is again why I think a project is a really good use case here. So like, let's say of all these documents, 4 or 5 of them were being edited actively by other people that are a part of the project. Those changes as they come in are going to be kind of captured, like the overall status of the project is going to be captured here in the middle of this overview. So if some major change happens to one of these documents, that's going to be folded into my overview. So this is like my real quick, like high level source of truth of like all this stuff together in one big, arrangement.
Hey, Dwayne,
Yes.
one thing I like in this, using this notebook in Microsoft Copilot here, is those files already in your OneDrive or SharePoint or Teams. They've already been indexed. They've already been discovered and researched. So bringing them in, I didn't have to download them, copy them someplace else, and then wait for that someplace else to index them again someplace and understand what they are. So that's just, it's quicker, easier, and those are your files where they live, one place. Not another copy, not another copy.
Yeah, it is very quick. No copying, no, like Joe and I have had a saying for a really long time called one file, one place. We're going all the way back to the dark ages of file attachments and email. We don't want to do that anymore. We want to have one file that we point to. It's the source, and then we present it in other places via references and links. So yeah, same idea. Good question in the chat around web links. Not right now, and I'll be honest, I don't have a good answer for you of why not. I don't know. I can tell you that, so I'm gonna switch over to Nestor. So this is Nestor. Nestor has a Copilot license, the premium version, and you can see his notebook experience is like all different, like everything's super weird. And when he goes into references, he can add a link. So this is a new notebook experience for Copilot Premium, and yeah, web links work there. I don't know why they're not here. I have to assume they're coming. I don't know. I don't know when or why, but for right now, anything you can find file-wise inside of your OneDrive browser. And I was seeing, and for some reason today I'm not, I was seeing yesterday emails. So email threads or chains that are pertinent to that project were also something you could pull in. I don't know why it's not there today. It's brand new, ironing the kinks out, and I can assure you it will get better. Couple more things about notebooks that are important. There is an option here that says create, and you're going to see a couple options. One of them says new page. Joe and I have talked in the past about a program called Microsoft Loop that had very dynamic pages, and those pages could contain, simple text, but they could also contain like embedded video, a planner board, voting options that people could move boxes around and vote for things or rearrange things and their preference. Just all kinds of really cool stuff that you could add onto a page. That's what these are. These are Copilot pages. And the reason why you would want to use one of these is, let's say there's some new information that you want your notebook to have. It would be really cumbersome for me to tell you, oh, well, if you want new information, you have to create a Word file, and you have to put all the text in the Word file, and then put the Word file in the team, and then bring the Word file in as a reference. It's like 8 steps, and nobody wants to do that. So if you just want to add some really quick blurb of knowledge into your notebook, or even a common space that people, like I like to use the term scratch pad. I want to make a scratch pad. In fact, I could even name this, scratch pad if I wanted to. People can just type here, and you can share these notebooks with other people, and they can type in here too. It becomes like a shared canvas that we can add stuff. And those items that I was referring to that Loop has, if you hit either the plus sign on the page, or you type in the / the one with the question mark, you'll see all those items that I was talking about earlier. So if I wanted to put in like a video or a call out, like EMH rules, something like that. It just makes it stand out on the page. I could drop in like a checklist, like we have to do these things, just a real quick, like let's check off, 5 steps in a process. If I scroll down a little bit further, I start to see like some SharePoint authoring kind of stuff. And then we get to like the good stuff, which is progress tracker, as well as a task manager. So a very, very similar kind of thing. This one actually spins up a planner plan. You can also do the voting table, like just very, very dynamic stuff that you can put on this page. And whatever goes on this page becomes a part of the knowledge that this chat will use. So let's try that question I asked earlier. Who created the EMH? Good question in the chat. What is Mermaid? Mermaid is actually a code that can lead to a diagram. Lots of questions out there about like we want to create a flow chart or an org chart. Mermaid is code you can write and the result will be a flow chart or an org chart. Pro tip, ask Copilot to write the Mermaid for you. Like go straight into Copilot and say, hey, I've got 25 things and here's how they're connected to each other. Or upload a picture and say, here's a picture. I want to add something to it. Can you give it to me in Mermaid? And if you did that, you could go into this page and drop it in there. And then you actually just get a picture and you can just straight up copy this as an image. So it's like a diagramming language. Joe, is that fairly accurate?
Yep. It's great for giving it, maybe you've got a set of tasks that are required in a certain order, feed it into Copilot, ask to make a Mermaid diagram and get a visual flow chart basically of perhaps a list of tasks that you need to complete it in a certain order.
So here's my answer. Who created the EMH? It was created by Dr. Lewis Zimmerman. Let's see, does Barkley get credit? Oh, it didn't even name him. Lieutenant or Reginald Barkley. Charles Barkley was a basketball player. Reg from Star Trek also helped create the EMH. But you can see if I click on sources, all the sources that it's referenced are only sources that are included in my notebook. So I've got a very tight control over what this Copilot can talk about. This is kind of like an agent. Have we done a session on agents, Joe?
Yes. Yep.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, we covered them a bit. I think that's where I made the extension link.
It's been a while. Yeah. But agents are along the same lines of purpose built. They're process or task oriented. They talk about a particular subject or they do a particular thing. This is kind of like that. And one aspect of agents that's really interesting is you can like program them, but don't get scared. It's not like programming. You just describe what you want your agent to do and how you want it to behave. You can do the same thing with a notebook. If you click the title, it's called Copilot Instructions. So if you wanted this notebook to format your answers in the tone of Spock, I could do that. And so now it'll probably say something is very logical, it's going to talk like Spock. So who assisted in the creation of the EMH? We'll give Barkley the love he deserves here in just a moment. You'll be able to see that the way it formulates its response is going to be a little bit different. And that's those instructions. So those fascinating. I will answer with precision. Very Spock-ish. But you could say like, here's the format rules for your responses. Like always give me this first and this second, and then cite your sources in this way. Like you could get really detailed. You got 8,000 characters of room to program your notebook, and your notebooks can all behave a certain way, which I think is fascinating, as Spock would say. The last thing I wanted to show is collaborating with other people in a notebook. You saw that in the video that we played real quick. If you click share up here at the top right-hand corner, there's some very important details here. The people that you put in here are collaborators. They will be able to see everything that's in your notebook and also add stuff and edit stuff that's in your notebook. And you'll see it says all notebook content and links will be shared. So when I invite Jean-Luc Picard to be a part of my notebook and I click invite, you're going to see that the role that he gets is going to be editor, and that's it. Like I can't make him read only. I can't make him not an editor. Now that doesn't mean that you have to give him permission to edit all of these files technically. So you could leverage, you know, like I've got, let's go to general, manage access, groups, members. So I've locked down this folder to be read only for any team members, not and team owners have edit. So I think you could share a notebook in that fashion and give people access to read the content, but not change the content. But they would be able to add pages. They would be able to edit the instructions of the notebook. Like they would still have some power. So really treat the people that you're pulling into your notebook as collaborative partners, not customers, if that makes sense. I hope I'm making sense. They're going to use your notebook, but they're also going to be able to work on your notebook with you. So keep that in mind. These pages can be shared out though. Like you can share out a page just like you could for Microsoft Loop if you wanted to. So if you just wanted to give somebody a peek at something in your notebook, that is possible. So sharing is pretty important to understand that concept. The last thing is you might have seen here, there's a couple things that you can create, a mind map and a study guide. I'll click on study guide first. Study guide is going to create like some materials to help me understand all of this content. And as the name implies, study it from a student perspective. This is really, really powerful. I, can only imagine like some of the power that our learners are going to have now of being able to create assets like this and organize their class materials. That's what this demo is kind of mocking up. If I could have put all my class materials in an AI powered notebook that could answer all of my questions about that class specifically, I'd probably be a lot smarter. I'm just saying. Maybe. So if we give it a minute, it'll create my study guide and I'll have access to look at that study guide. While that's going, let me launch OneNote. Come here. Let me launch OneNote real fast. We're merging these two things together. Like I said, your OneNote notebooks and Copilot notebooks will be accessible in the same place, which is convenient. They're getting closer to each other. These are going to be more prone to like references being added and those kinds of things over in the OneNote viewer here. And then the last trick, because I'm running out of time, is conversations can be added to a notebook. So if you've ever found yourself chatting about the same thing with Copilot across several different conversations, you'll actually, like you can see I've got 3 here called how do I reset a user's password, because those are mock prompts. If I click the 3 little dots on it, I see add to notebook. So I could grab all 3 of these and add them to a notebook. It's going to pull up my notebooks and I want to add it to the sysadmin one. And then I could add this one to the sysadmin notebook. And it's going to start to pull all the history of that conversation and put it in my notebook as knowledge, because I generate a lot of useful stuff talking to Copilot, and it kind of trickles down my chat history, never to be seen again, unless I remember it a couple weeks later. So organizing my conversations as well into notebooks is a really good strategy, because I have lots of conversations with Copilot.
Dwayne, will those conversations become a resource that everybody else in the meeting or in notebook? Those and audio files will be separate.
Yeah, those are going to be private to you. It's not going to open up your conversation history and expose it to a bunch of other people. That would be bad news.
Yep.
So here's my study guide. It created it as a page, and here's all the things that I should be concentrating on, focusing on for being successful in this class. Obviously, it's fictitious, generated based off of Star Trek content. So, which I had Copilot create all this content anyway. It's a lot of fun. But we just hit 3 o'clock. That was a speedy review of notebooks. Joe and I will hang out on the call for a little bit. If you have some questions or you want us to dive into this a little bit further, poke around at it, those kinds of things. But thanks for joining us. We really appreciate the community. Tell your friends about the new website, please. Hopefully we look more professional and we don't look like scammers anymore, because there were some concerns that we were, I don't know, spam or fake or something. So we have a real website now, and we love to help out. So, like I said, we'll stay on the call for a few more minutes. If you want us to look at some stuff, I'd be happy to. But otherwise, thanks for watching.
Thank you.